Hi, my name is Dwayne McHenry with Project Healing Waters Alaska, and today we're going to bring you how to tie the Thunder Creek streamer. We've teamed up with the Alaska Department of Fish and Game to give you a demo on some flies that we can tie to fish here in Alaska. Today for the Thunder Creek streamer, we use the crystal flash. Again, we tie that kind of on first. Your bucktail is what makes the primary part of the fly. Again, a darker color on top with a lighter color on bottom. This time I use black and white. We've got stick-on eyes from Wasilla here. I used a size 6 straight eye streamer hook and using a red thread again to give you that gill plate look on the fly itself, and finished it off with some UV cement, first the thick to build up the head and get that deer hair cured. And then the flow here was used to kind of secure the eyes on and finish off the fly and give you a nice even finish. Okay, so we're going to start tying here. First thing we're going to do is build up a thread body or a thread base, and we're only going to go back about 1/4 to 1/3 of the hook before we cut off, because we don't want to tie up over the whole back of the fly. First thing I like to do is take a little bit of crystal flash, and I'm just going to cut a little chunk off to give this a little flash in the middle of the fly. And I'm going to tie this kind of traditionally like you would a normal streamer. So I'm just going to cut that material, hold it in my fingers. Again, I want a fly that's about, or the wing of the fly is going to be about 1.5 times the length of the shaft here of the hook. So I'm going to tie that in, get it kind of lined up, and I'm just going to tie that around. And what I want to do is kind of work that around the hook, so that it kind of covers the hook up a little bit and just gives you a little bit of extra coverage. Again, we're going to tie that down. We're going to work our way forward. Not trying not to tie down, obviously, what we just tied in. And build a nice little thread base up. So that's our starting point now for where we're going to tie in our other materials. I'm going to tie in the bottom bit first. We're going to use a white bucktail. It's not as important that you stack this. This is kind of meant to be a little bit of an uneven fly because you're looking for a sparse look on the tail of the fly. So I'm going to use white bucktail. Of course, I'm going to hold it in my fingers and kind of pull out some of the fuzzies on the bottom, the under fur, and try and at least get to where I have good straight bucktail. And I will do a sort of a stack where I can just take my fingers and take some of the longer pieces and line it up. But again, I'm not worried about getting a hair stacker out and stacking it up super fine. I want a little bit of contrast and a little bit of a wispy nature to the tail. So what I'm going to do now is, because I want my lighter color on the bottom, I'm going to flip my vise over. Again, you don't have to do this on a rotary vise. It does kind of make it a little bit easier. Let me move my crystal flash out of the way for you there. And again, I want about 1.5 times the hook length. So you can take your fur, you can kind of measure it, probably add again another little bit here so that you can make it marry up with the length of your crystal flash, because you're going to tie this in backwards. And the reason you're going to do that is you're going to bring it back over top of the material you already have tied on there to create a head. So we're going to tie this in. Don't worry about getting super tight with it. We're going to tie the whole thing forward once we get the mix on there. I'm going to lift up the excess bucktail here I have, trying not to get into the crystal flash that I just tied on there, and try and trim that off close, because again, we're going to tie that over the head. Kind of straighten it out. You can see I've got a few strands of bucktail in there. We'll kind of lift those up and trim them up, neaten the fly up a little bit. And even if you leave a strand or two of it on there, it's not a huge deal, because we're going to come back over top of it. So what I'm going to do now is tie in my top, and I'm going to use, for this, in this case, I'm going to use a little bit of the black bucktail here. And again, I'm just going to select a clump. It doesn't have to be a ton of it. Again, it's supposed to be kind of a sparsely tied fly. If you don't get enough, you can always go back and cut a little bit more. You can see I've got a small clump here. I'm going to pull, again, that under fur off of there, because we want to kind of keep it consistent in length, and sometimes when you get a lot of that under stuff on there, you can't. So I kind of went under because I've got some cut pieces here. So I'm going to stop and set this down, and I'll cut another little chunk here and give myself enough to work with. So again, that's probably too short, so I'm going to find a little bit longer fur up on the bucktail a little bit more. And cut that off. And again, we'll stack it all up so it's all nice and neat. Again, not using a hair stacker. I'm just doing this by hand, trying to keep a nice tapered appearance to the fly and give you a good appearance in the water. So we'll take these, again, pick them all up. You can see I've got a nice stack of the dark bucktail here. And one of the things you want to do is you do this, again, you want to measure it. I can measure it off of what I did on the bottom, so that'll be good. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of slowly wrap it in. And as I go forward, I just want to pinch the thing till I get up kind of towards the eye of the hook, because what it's going to do is give me that head that we're looking for on the fly, and you can see I'm almost to where that's free. So I'm going to give it another wrap here, and I'm going to work my way back, and I'm going to leave my thread just hanging here, and I'll work around that as I retie the body. One thing you can see, again, I've got a little bit of that bucktail gets mixed up with your crystal flash. You can work around that and just trim it up. Try and neaten up your appearance. Again, that's just a little extra body material. It doesn't really hurt anything to have some of the ends in there, but I do try to make it look a little prettier and clean it up personally. We'll get those out of the way. Okay, so now we're just going to pull the fur back, and what we're trying to do here is we're just trying to create kind of a head on the front of the fly. And then you can see I've gotten about 1.5 times past the length of it, so that's good. We're building up a nice head on this thing. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to wrap nice and easy, and we're going to wrap a red band around this, and that's why I'm using a red thread. It kind of imitates the gill plates of the elvin or the small fish, and we're going to just do that and get a nice base on there, and we're going to whip finish right over top of that. And that is the first part of the fly tied up for us. At this point, you just tie it off. You can take your time. That just popped off for me, so that worked out all right. You won't need your thread anymore. So you've got a nice tapered body fly, whole fly here. So the first thing I'm going to do is use some thick UV. I just happen to be using a loon here. So you just kind of squeeze that out, and it gives you a nice blob of material here. So we're just trying to build up that head to make it kind of round, and we're just going to take that and spread it over the whole fly and build a head up on this. One thing I have seen people do is take and put a little bit of wire or something underneath the head here to give it a little bit of sink, but in some respects you probably do want this one to rise up a little bit. Maybe you can use a sinking line or something like that to kind of get the fly down, but then also still give it that good action as it's in the water. So I'm just going to use this a little bit, get that nice and easy, get good coverage on that head up there. Once I'm happy with that, which doesn't look too bad there to me, I had missed a little bit there maybe. So we're going to get that nice and even. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now we're just going to hit this with a UV light. About 10 seconds per side. Give it a nice even bake all the way around as we do this. It's just going to set that UV and give you a nice smooth appearance. Okay. Should be enough. So the next thing you do on the Thunder Creek is you want to put some eyes on it to make it look again, more like a fish. You don't have to use store-bought stick-on eyes, obviously. You can just use some paint, some like white paint, and then just come back later and do a dot. What I'm going to do is just lay it on the side. Again, one of the nice things about having a rotary vise. I'm just going to take that and I'm going to line this up on it and get it nice and centered where I want it. I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm going to come back to the other side. I'm going to put the other eye on it on the other side and just make it match up. A lot of times when you have these, they are not centered, so I kind of tend to put the eye of the hook, or the iris of the eye forward on it, so that way I'm being consistent. And then I just kind of give it a slight pinch to kind of get it kind of set. This one slid down on me, so I'll just move it up. And one thing when you're working with thick UV material is it can be a little slimy, and that's what we're going to remedy right now by using some of the thinner material. In this case, I'm using the flow type material, and we're going to just layer over the head that we already created, as well as we're going to go over those eyes so that we're cementing them in place. And we're going to just slowly work our way around it, adding material, hopefully making a nice clean presentation again like we did before. And if you knock something off or you get a little extra material, it's not a big deal. You can work with it. You can see the one eye kind of came off there, it looks like. So I'm just going to take my my bodkin here. I'm going to pull that. I'm going to get that eye back in place because it will drop back in place. Just stop and go from there. We'll fix it. Come on. So on that one, we're just going to slowly work our way around, get it. If we have too much material, again, we can just kind of put that on your bodkin and then wipe it off, so it'll give you the right design you want. Look at your eyes. You can see those are pretty close to side. And again, we're going to use our UV light here to secure that in place. So I'm going to twist this while it's doing it so that they stay where they're at. And as you can see, those eyes are now cementing in place. We're going to give it about 10 to 12 seconds on top and slowly rotate it around so we get the bottom. And that should cure that. Looks like we're pretty solid. And that is a Thunder Creek streamer. Okay, that's the Thunder Creek streamer. Again, a great streamer for getting out there and enjoying the waters of Alaska. Again, I'm with Project Healing Waters. We have groups here in Anchorage, at the hatchery here in Anchorage. We meet out at Wasilla at the Vet Center, and we meet up in Fairbanks. You can check us out on Project Healing Waters Alaska on Facebook. Again, a great organization for veterans with service-connected disabilities. We look forward to meeting you. Please check us out, and good luck fishing in Alaska.